Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Euro Truck Simulator 2. Today we already have a load and we're gonna talk about what it is. I turned my lights off, that's not what I wanted to do. Parking brake off, in gear, let's go ahead and start the trip. So, we have a little bit of a long trip. I hope it's not as long as last time because I literally ran out of things to talk about and I talked about the metric system, which was extremely boring. So today we are hauling, that's not what I want, 16 tons of a construction digger to Lily. Not right at all. I know it's in France. I do know that. And we're going to make 41,000 euro because it is a rush order and a special order. So we need to get there between Sunday at 11 and Monday at 1. So a very short window. We have 25 hours to complete the job. We need to sleep in 10. And currently, we are going to get there in 13. So if we can do a fast job, we should be able to knock off, I don't know if we're going to be able to knock off 3-4 hours, but we should be able to get there without having to rest, which would be ideal. This is the total wrong button. Did not mean to hit that. Get rid of that. Okay, my lights on? Yeah, they are. Okay. All right, let's do this. Okay. Getting everything ready. Getting used to it. So, Euro trucks, as you guys know, are typically a time for me to kind of talk about everything, really. I don't really have a set idea of anything that I talk about. And they're kind of like a vlog with a game going on, because I kind of talk about what's going on in my life. So, recently, as you guys might have heard from the last Euro truck episode, I ordered that G27 shifter box. Unfortunately, have not heard anything from the person. Nothing. And it's been like 2-3 weeks. So haven't heard a thing. Emailed asking what's going on with the order. Did you get it? You know, when's it going to ship out? Yada yada. Trying to get any information at all. Didn't hear a thing. So I'm a little annoyed with that. Still waiting to hear anything back from them. Luckily though, you know, I paid with PayPal, so I have, you know, a little bit of a window before I can kind of go in and like say, oh, okay, I didn't receive my item, I'll like my refund. It was only $45, so it wasn't that bad, but obviously if I don't get the thing I paid for, then there's no point. So we're coming over. Oh God, did you not see my blinker? I'm trying to get over. Jesus. And then you get in this lane. What a So yeah, haven't heard anything, haven't seen anything in the mail. I'm just gonna kind of see what happens, and if it just shows up one day, that'd be great. Or if I get a email back, that would be even better. But we're just gonna kind of wait and see and find out. I kind of hope that it shows up because that's quite annoying. And I want a shifter when American Truck Sim comes out. And I don't have any other option really when it comes to connecting my shifter and being able to use it properly. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But recently, this weekend, as you guys might have noticed, I took the weekend off, which was actually really nice. I needed to kind of just mentally recharge. I had been, you know, pushing myself so much, making so many videos, and just really not having any time to be human, which is definitely necessary. And I was just kind of going through the motions and just getting so, like, turned into a robot, just turning things out and not really, you know, being able to mentally, you know, not deal with it, just mentally, I don't know, drained. So I decided to take the weekend off, which was really, really nice. It really helped me. I didn't get any videos out, which was unfortunate, but I needed to just rest. My brain was so frazzled. So what I ended up doing was I took the weekend to Saturday. I hung out with my buddy. I went over to his house. We watched a movie, and there was a Cops Reloaded marathon, and hung out, and it was a lot of fun and definitely needed just to get away. And then on Sunday, I drove to San Francisco and picked up a car part for the Miata. Another car part. It was a process. It was a journey. So the whole idea was I decided to delete the cat in my car. And if, for those of you that don't know what a cat is, it's a catalytic converter. It's pretty much the piece of pipe in your muffler system that kind of traps all the get, nasty stuff coming out of your pipe and helps the environment and all this sort of stuff and whatnot, what have you. So I decided to get rid of that for my off-road use only vehicle that I don't drive on the street because it's not legal. So I definitely don't do anything with it except use it off-road on closed courses, and I follow all the rules and regulations that California has set out. Why is everybody going so fast tonight? Jesus. So, yeah, so I decided to do this to my off-road vehicle, and so I went and got the cat. It was only $40, which is actually really nice. The only issue was I had to get a O2 plug because I had an O2 sensor in it, and I had to go get one to cover it. So picked up the cat. So I drove all the way to San Francisco, which was quite a trip, and picked it up, came all the way back. Trip went fine. It was a lot of fun. I like going for drives. It's really nice. So that was no problem. Stopped by a couple shops, tried to get an O2 plug, and nobody had them. Nobody was having anything. And people were like, well, we have one that's a little too small and a little too big. And I was like, well, that's not really helping me now, is it? So I had to pretty much, I ended up at a hardware store, not even an auto store, just a hardware store, looking at pipe fittings because it's a pipe thread. It's not a normal thread. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I need to find something that's going to work. So I ended up finding a little fitting. The only problem is it wasn't like a bolt. It didn't have a cap on it. So I could technically thread it. It fit. It was the only thing that I could find that fit, but I could technically thread it all the way through. And I was like, well, I'm going to buy it because it's $2 and I don't have any other solution right now to kind of get this done. So I was like, yeah. So I bought that with the intent on, I thought about using Gorilla Glue and putting the Gorilla Glue around the threads, threading it in, and then letting it dry and let that Gorilla Glue expand in there. And then it would kind of expand in the threads and kind of lock that thing in place. Which turned out to be a terrible idea. Not good. So I did that completely wrong. No need to tell me. I already know. It was not a good idea at all. So anyway, I buy this piece, whatever. I'm back. I put the car up on jack stands, and I'm like, okay, time to take the cat off. By the way, just to let you know, I'm going to be calling the catalytic converter the cat from now on just because it's easier. So, car's on jack stands. I am like, okay, let's do this. I already have a catback exhaust, so the two bolts on the rear have already been taken off once. And that doesn't really sound like that big of an issue. You're like, okay, well, that's fine. Just take the other two off. Well, the problem is I saw the trouble at the two guys that were going through to put the catback system on, because the cat has these bolts that pretty much are in the cat itself, and they kind of protrude out, and then you put nuts on them. Well, that bolt that's protruding out was pretty rusted, and the nuts were rusted, which led to, when they were putting the cat back on, was the catback exhaust on, led to a bunch of cutting and stripping of bolts, and literally hacking things off and bolts snapping because it was just rusted. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna have to deal with that on the front. I knew it was gonna be a pain, but I did not realize it was gonna be as big of a pain as it actually was. So ended up working on one side, and this thing was freaking stuck in there. It was so tough. I was literally putting all my force into this nut trying to get it off the bolt. And I'm just wrenching this thing like crazy. The wrench is falling off every now and then because it's just not on there all the way. Long story short, after a while, the thing ends up stripping. I'm like, well, this really sucks. So I go buy a socket set that helps get stripped bolts out, stripped, painted over, and corroded and all that. And I was like, this is something that I've needed anyway. So I just went, it was like $4. I was like, this is fine. So went and got that, started working on the wrench again. Really helped, because it was getting that strip bolt out. And I was like, this thing's amazing. Still had to put a ton of force into it, though. So I'm sitting there wrenching on it, and I'm noticing that it's getting towards the end. And I'm like, this is amazing. I'm so close to getting this thing done. Well, the bolt coming off the cat ended up kind of bending a little bit, which then bent the nut when it was like 95% off, and ended up bending it, and I could no longer use the socket on the nut because it was bent. And so I had this bolt hanging off, 95% off, literally so close to being off. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, it's stuck. There's no way. Like it ended up popping, one of the sides of the threads popped up higher than the other, so it was like it was leaning, it was too close because I had bent, it was too close to the exhaust system to put a socket on. I was like, that thing is stuck. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. So I decided to start working on the other side because I was like, this thing's stuck. I'm just gonna work on the other side and think about what I need to do. So I end up working on the other side, wrenching it. I ended up just go ahead and using that one to get stripped bolts off, just because I knew that the other one was going to strip too. So I was like, I'll just cut out the middleman of stripping this thing and just use that. So I was using that, and I was like, okay, this is working. It was very, very tough, though. It wasn't like just, yeah, sure, it's fine. It was literally like all my force to get this thing, you know, to going. Get it about like, I don't know, 40% or something, and the whole bolt just snaps in half, and the nut flies off and everything. And at that point in time, I was like, you know what? I'm totally fine with that, because now I don't have to mess around with this bolt. So now I have to go back to the other side, and I'm thinking, okay, what now? How am I going to get this thing off? I literally have no plans. There's nothing. There's no way that I can get this thing off. And at this point in time, I'm like, well, one side snapped, so what am I going to do? So I just decided, I was like, well, I am just going to literally cut this nut off of the bolt, because fuck it, one side's already broken. This side is actually longer than the other because I didn't break the bolt. I was like, I'm literally just going to take a hacksaw to this thing and just cut it off. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, the hacksaw, not big enough. Couldn't get it in that area. So I was like, okay, still don't know what to do. So I decide I'm going to take the blade out of the hacksaw and just hold it in my hands and cut this thing. Well, 3-4 hours later of literally laying under my car, holding a hacksaw blade in my hand, because it was already too late at that point in time to go buy another tool, and I didn't want to spend the money on another tool that I wasn't going to use. And I was like, well, I know this will work, it's just going to take forever. So I literally just forever sitting there just hacking away at this bolt. Finally, after hours of slowly cutting this thing, it gets like 95% cut through, and I just grab it with a pair of pliers and just twist it and rip it off. And I'm like, thank Christ that is actually done, because that was the biggest pain in the ass ever. At this time, it's probably about 10 o'clock. No, it's actually probably about 8, 9 o'clock. I'm like, this is freaking ridiculous. So I start working on the back, because these are already done. One side comes out super easy. I'm like starting to work on the other side, and then it kind of, at the very, like 95%, again, it gets hung up. And I'm like, what the heck? These have already been taken off before. There's no way that this is rusted on here again. Turns out it was just really kind of stuck on there right at the end. One of the threads at the end was messed up, so I just had to use that socket and just literally just rip down on it, and it just came off. Didn't break or anything, just needed extra force. So I was like, okay, good. Pulled the cat out. I was like, all right, awesome. That is done. And that's where I was originally going to leave it and come back to it the next day. Well, I kind of felt accomplished after all that time, and I was like, forget it. I'm throwing this test pipe in here now, which is pretty much the pipe that goes where the cat was. So instead of a catalytic converter being there, it's literally just a straight pipe from the headers to the catback exhaust. So I look at my little non-legit glue job of this plug that's in here, and I'm like, well, I put that in around 3 or 4, so it's had a couple hours to dry. I was like, it's probably good enough. Spoilers, it wasn't. So I put the pipe in, and I'm like, okay, done. Job done. I lower the car. I'm like, yes, this is amazing. Then I decide I haven't eaten in quite some time, so I'm gonna go get some food. Well, I decided to drive the car, which wasn't good. Again, I took the off-road routes there, so wasn't on the road, wasn't on the public road. I took the off-road closed course access to the food. Yeah. So anyway, I'm driving it, and it sounds great. I'm like, this is amazing. This is awesome. Perfect. And I get about 4 blocks away, and then I'm decelerating to a light and rattle. Just this massive rattle. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And as I keep going, it's just louder, louder, louder. It just keeps getting, I'm like, oh my God, this sounds horrific. Like my car, literally to people around me, sounds like it's falling apart. I'm like, this is terrible. Well, my little plug did not work. Total fail. Wasn't a good idea. Just all around, just terrible ideas that I had. So Monday ended up, or today, technically, tomorrow, actually. Yesterday, not tomorrow, yesterday, technically, but today, really, in reality. I don't know, whatever. Monday, Monday, I put the car back up on jack stands, took the test pipe out, went to a shop that luckily was open on Memorial Day. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys are open. They had the proper, I should have gone there in the first place. They had the proper O2 plug. Like one that actually fit, that was a bolt that tightened down, perfect, everything. I even bought some Loctite, put that on there. It's solid, good, set, threw it in the car. Luckily, because I didn't have to mess with rusted bolts or nuts or anything like that, literally didn't, it took longer jacking the car up and putting it on jack stands than it did taking the pipe out and in. It was literally just done, no time. Went for a drive, sounds amazing, love it. Sounds perfect off-road on closed courses, not on public roads. It's really, really nice. So I like it. I don't know how long it's gonna stay. It's just, I mean, it was $40, so it wasn't like the most expensive thing I could have done. It was a pretty cheap mod, but I mean, for what it wasn't that bad, but it was more of a pain in the ass to get the old cat off, but it was actually a project that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. That's actually why I bought a drill in the first place. I hadn't owned a drill in a really long time, and I had bought a drill a couple months back with the intention of taking my cat off, drilling out those rusted bolts that are like pre-installed in there. There's not even a bolt head on the other side. It's literally just a bolt sticking out of it, and you put a nut on one side. You can't even bolt the other side. So for months, I've had the intention of taking the cat out and properly getting those rusted bolts out. So when I need to put it in and out or swap exhaust systems or something like that, or have to do maintenance of some sort and have to take that off, it wouldn't be that big of a pain. So it was a massive pain, but it got done. And it got done, I mean, yeah, it was annoying as hell, but it's now out. So now I can service it properly. And I'm actually just thinking about taking it to an exhaust shop and just saying, hey, can you re-thread this with new bolts, because it's a freaking nightmare. Either that, or can you guys just drill out these bolts and just leave them holes, and I'll use the bolts I'm using for holding in the test pipe right now, because those are brand new and they work perfectly, and it takes 10 seconds to take them off. So it was a big, huge, long process that took way longer than it should have, but besides, you know, a couple scraped knuckles and a couple cuts and punching myself in the face with some sockets every now and then, and, well, the pain that I'm in today physically, because it's just, you know, you don't exert yourself like that every day, like literally grabbing a wrench with all your freaking might and just yanking on it, like literally just all pressure you possibly can exert on this thing. So something I don't do every day, and I'm definitely feeling the pain for it today. I also managed somehow to cut my hand on a gasket. Not really sure how that's a possibility, but it happened. So I have a nice little, like, it's like a paper cut. It's like a little thin razor blade cut right on my palm. It feels horrific. So yeah, that was my Sunday / Monday and Saturday, which was uneventful but fun. So, but it was nice, you know, getting out, working with my hands, and, you know, just being away and just relaxing. So I got mentally recharged but physically drained. So I traded one for another. So it'll take a couple days just to get back to my normal out of shapeness and shittiness of sitting in a chair all day, and I'll be fine. But yeah, that was pretty fun.